могли почитать имейлы,
Понимаешь?
серьезно смущать полчаса.
Да? Хорошо.
Я прошу прощения. Так, где запустить?
общий yo презентациясini bering, ma'murlarga bering, ortidan bizga bering.
Отлично. Хочется иметь презентацию на экране.
Mana u gapirayotgan payt bizlarni o'zimizga bo'lib ketadi. Uni men berolmayman. Okey, men javob beraman. Menga kamera bersiz, men ekranga qo'yaman. Ekranda no pizdes. Abel boqdi. Общий круг masalasida uzoqda в чем проблема? В чем? Тут я инглишче кетебиз. А? Инглишче кетебиз. Причина, по-моему, в чем проблема? Onun kadrlar bu İngilizce ketib gapirmaydi.
Я буду говорить по-русски, потому что так будет проще большинству.
Трансляция на
вот. А слайды у меня будут на английском, потому что в подготовке, как правило, принимает участие не один человек, вовлечены, в том числе и мои коллеги, и для того, чтобы проще было работать над своим материалом, мы их делаем всегда на английском. Скажем, Узбекистан, страна, которая приняла сегодняшнее мероприятие. Базовая информация, вы прекрасно знаете, достаточно большая все-таки по территории страна, но со сложной достаточно географией. И это, безусловно, сказывается на том, как развивается здесь связь, на том, как развиваются интернет-сервисы. Мы чуть-чуть попозже это увидим, да, то есть общая территория большая, но есть город, есть достаточно большая доля пустыни. Мне было очень печально читать, что есть проблема пустынизации территории в Узбекистане, что пустыня увеличивается. Но, с другой стороны, на мой взгляд, это просто означает, что Узбекистан в ближайшем будущем должен стать лидером по агроэнергетике, потому что условия дефицита воды, борьба с пустыней, единственное. Может отличаться процентов на 20. И потребовалось достаточно много времени, чтобы понять, почему эта разница возникает. Потому что одни исследователи или статистики считают относительно возрастной группы, которая, скажем, 18+, другие считают относительно всего населения Узбекистана, включая, скажем, малолетних детей, которые, безусловно, интернетом пользоваться не могут. И вот, собственно, За 3 года она подорожала в период. Еще раз прошу прощения. Она подешевела в 9 раз. Это, безусловно, впечатляет. Это очень серьезная работа, которая всего лишь на одно место отстал от Узбекистана, а не на 16. Таджикистан, который внезапно в самом середине списка. Вот, и здесь середина списка это не очень хорошо. То есть это довольно недорогая связь. Есть Туркменистан, который в антилидерах. Они на 7-м месте с конца. То есть у них очень-очень дорогая связь. Да, то есть, казалось бы, мы находимся... Я прошу прощения, конечно. Когда живешь в Узбекистане, наверняка очень четко дистанцируешься, то есть понимаешь, где есть общие черты, где есть разница с соседями. Ну, достаточно часто, когда люди смотрят из Европы или там, из бывшего Советского Союза, да, воспринимается это как Центральная Азия. Оказывается, разница в странах Центральной Азии может быть очень большой. Да? Регион очень неоднороден даже по этому показателю. И если взять государственную статистику по, опять-таки, это то, что лежит на сайте министерства. Если посмотреть государственную статистику по количеству предприятий, которые заявили, что они предоставляют телекоммуникационные услуги, то мы увидим некий рост. У меня работает, просто не очень видно. Некий рост компаний, которые заявляют предоставление беспроводных услуг, и снижение компаний, которые существенное, кстати, снижение, смотрите, количество упало больше, чем вдвое, да, за несколько лет, которые предоставляют услуги фиксированной связи. Мы понимаем, что заявление о том, что я предоставляю услуги, не равно тому, что я действительно работаю в этой области. С другой стороны, этот код, который я регистрирую, он есть не просто. И никаких поводов убирать его, требует тратить силы, энергию, время для того, чтобы убрать этот код из документов моей организации, в принципе, нет. То есть это снижение свидетельствует о том, что количество таких компаний сокращается, да, потому что это единственный нормальный органический процесс, который может обеспечить это снижение. Что происходит? То есть, наблюдаем ли мы какую-то проблему? Для начала я посмотрел на количество лояльных, то есть организаций, которые имеют статус локальной в NCC. Здесь мы видим четкий рост. Здесь идет нормальный рост, никакой ни стагнации, тем более кризиса не наблюдается. Дальше я посмотрел на количество людей, которые задействованы в этой отрасли. Да, это опять-таки министерство. Это количество тоже растет. Если мы посмотрим на среднее количество сотрудников одной организации, мы обнаружим вот такую кривую скрипку. То есть это видим, опять-таки, это такой внешний вывод, который может быть и опровергнут. Но, по-видимому, мы имеем дело с двумя тенденциями, которые конкурируют друг с другом. С одной стороны, у нас есть развитие рынка, индустрия развивается.
The speed and the growth is the performance is the highest in this region, and Kazakhstan is almost there, almost there. I'm not talking about the absolute indicator. I'm just talking about the growth rate. The changes here, and you can see that Uzbekistan is slightly faster than Kazakhstan. And of course there are some challenges in the content and services, and Uzbekistan has something to work on, and there are quite serious stagnation as well. And this indicator is at the same level as Tajikistan and is growing slower than the neighboring countries. So there is a reason to be thinking and to perhaps addressing this issue and the localization. And it's not about politics, it's really related to technical and economic factors, and this what the penultimate discussion will be devoted to. The Uzbekistan mobile internet coverage, there are 4 mobile operators. 2 of them are giving 3G and higher. Ucell and Beeline can only be proud of their achievements in some cities. But if we combine these 4 pictures, the total coverage, I did this in Photoshop. I sort of put them layer by layer. We can see that the mobile operators are working very well to meet their objectives. The coverage of by mobile internet really is identical almost to the density of population, and so that's the mobile operators have done very well on this. This is almost identical, and to the total internet access, and these are the official statistics, and these are the absolute number of users, and the number of users who have the access to internet. So between it's about 48 and 8 and 75.2, so it's quite well, and to me it's proving it's not chaotic development. There is some feasible and sensible planning that is accompanied the whole way. So there is no spontaneous or impulsive decisions made. As far as our data is concerned, we see 78 autonomous systems in Uzbekistan, 188 IPv4 prefixes, and only 34 IPv6 prefixes. Unfortunately, there are problems with IPv6, and we will talk about this a little bit. But 78 station networks are actually the ones that we have been able to get. But in reality, there are 68. But those who are active, even less than that. But nevertheless, the relative number is quite a decent number, I must say. So this is what is happening in regards to IPv6. These are the results of the research of Winky, and they take their data from Google and process them. So these are the numbers, and these are the final users related numbers, and these final devices that are seen by Google. And for Uzbekistan, at this point, the number of penetration of IPv6 is 5005. So it's very, very little. And if we are to talk about the region in general, we see the same situation in Tajikistan and in Kyrgyzstan. And its IPv6 is non-existent. There are some experiments that are going on in Turkmenistan, but there is no information, unfortunately, about what it is. Nothing visual, but we can see some percentage that is visible, and also there is a drop to zero as well, which is unclear to us. But again, let me repeat that we don't have any information. And there is Kazakhstan, who has started developing the IPv6. The sudden growth and development has started, and we can see the jumps, and the IPv6 is around 77%, and that's a very typical beginning, and the situation is evolving. Once it started, it's a very standard situation, so sometimes it just starts, and it just starts crawling, the number, but it will continue to develop and grow. And of course, the absolute leader is Kazakhstan, and other countries, well, we can say that IPv6 is almost non-existent. And if we're to talk about routing stats, we see 46 independent stations that keep announcing something, and about 20 of them very rarely say something and disappear somehow, and it's very unclear. And it would be interesting to understand where this share of this disappearing substances, where they actually fade away, and how this situation occurs. And as IPv4 is concerned, it's very uninteresting and mundane. We've identified 188 prefixes, but here we see 323, and the reason could be because Uzbekistan is using external or rented prefixes from other countries, registered not in Uzbekistan but in Kazakhstan or Italy, for example, but used in the country. Or it could be the case when the prefixes are particled for some traffic and announced aggregated prefix, and is also partitioned into smaller parts. I actually took time, wrote scripts one evening, and in order to use to get all the results through RipeStat, and this is what we get. So the exceeding by 2 times, it's only because of deaggregation. It's quite popular to managing more specific traffic management, but it was quite a curious observation. Also, the protection of networks from hijacking by RPKI is quite behind the world trend, and we only see that only quarter of the networks have the signature, and there is no technical ways of measure. And the technology of RPKI is consisted of 2 parts. So we can see the signatures, but we cannot see who validates them. So the situation is quite bad. here it could lead to some problematic situations. And also the thoughtful violations of routing are usually synchronized by external or political events, and similar events can come uncalled, and I would probably encourage Uzbekistan to think more seriously about the security of routing through signing. And IP4s are quite in deficit. The cost of the address is growing, and now it has reached in very serious numbers. And now there is a question how this, what are the ways of distributing these addresses. And this diagram shows us this in Uzbekistan, not within 1 year, but through all times. This is how the distribution was made, and it's seen that in Uzbekistan the distribution happens within the country, the transfers without the country. And sometimes the Russian Federation are the donors, and sometimes they get this address, but in other cases this is very typical for the region, and except for Turkmenistan, which does not give anything and only everything works in one way. And the same picture for three countries, and these three countries, including Uzbekistan, they're not showing very high intensity of IP addresses transfer, and you just don't practice it. And the number of addresses that were transferred were very minimal, and Uzbekistan is a little higher, but through all the time that it has been possible, maybe in 20 years. Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan is even less, and Kazakhstan makes a little is more different. The transferred addresses are quite high. Mostly the addresses are given to the country, and you see the shares, the Russian Federation, Romania, Sweden, an internal transfer. It is a very verified process. The Kazakh community seems to be more involved, is much more aware about how it is happening, and it makes the use of it. And all the difference in Kazakhstan is because of the higher awareness, I think, about the availability of such possibilities. As far as our Wipe Atlas probes are concerned, I will have a separate presentation on this tomorrow. Unfortunately, in Uzbekistan, they're very, very very underdeveloped, only 7 probes, and most of them are not in Tashkent. There were probes not in Tashkent, but they're off, and they have been off for a while, abandoned for at least 6 months, which is a very saddening fact. It means that we don't have much opportunity to do any research of the Uzbek networks, and the products that are developed by organizations and the results of this research, well, a lot to say about them, but unfortunately there are nothing interesting to share regarding Uzbekistan with the situation with probes like this. And a little bit about the websites and the resources. The most popular websites in Uzbekistan, most of them are located in Uzbekistan. The Kundalik and Daria. I'm sorry for mispronunciation. And none of the Uzbek resources are in top, and none of them support IPv6. We will speak a little bit in more detail tomorrow. And of course there is always an issue of chicken and egg, and we don't know why, what resulted in what. And there was more research done of the web resources, so he took a look at the bank resources and news, and in the light of where they're located physically or where the front ends of these resources are located. And there was a very interesting finding that banks, most of them are in Uzbekistan, apart from the Turkish banks, which are located in Turkey. And all these Uzbek banks are here at the local hosting, whereas the news sites, they show quite a wide geography, and we see the green line. It's a Russian company protecting, but the banks don't have hostings with protection or effective DDoS protection. And then Emil took a deeper look at the region. So it is actually very normal for the whole region, this situation, and still we can see that in Tajikistan the situation is slightly different, but for banks it is not very standard to be DDoS mitigated, but we understand that when people are using Google or Amazon or Kamai, they receive the protection for free, because it is inbuilt in infrastructure, and it is a very typical approach for the news websites, which is non-existent for the banks. Some more observations to point out. It is not very typical for all the resources that we have looked at, that one side would be using resources of another site. So for example, if we go to Amazon or the German operator or provider, or the Italian operator or provider, you can see that. But if you go to the provider of a neighboring country, there is an exception. In Kyrgyzstan, though, one website is located in Kazakhstan. It is quite a curious case. I'm not ready to jump into any deep conclusions or try to take something out of it, but it's just an observation to think about. Another observation to which I found interesting is that the Russian cloud providers are not used, but Russia is close geographically, and Yandex maybe is the only case, the Yandex cloud in Kyrgyzstan. And of course, very few cases. And it's maybe too early to jump into any conclusions, as I mentioned, but that just reflects the state of mind. And this is also a very non-typical situation. It's not typical neither for the world nor for the region. These are the splashes of this traffic, and web traffic, which is the share of encryption, by the way, in the country is quite high. But here we see web traffic is about 1/3 or maybe a little higher. It's not typical at all. In the average, it's about 85%. In the neighboring countries, it's 100%. In Tajikistan, 100%. Kyrgyzstan, 100%. And here, 35 plus or minus. Depending on the day, on the time of the day, and it's quite unclear for me what kind of traffic, apart from the web, is represented by 65%. Perhaps it could be a very interesting topic for research for us, the operators and all other companies. For me, it's very, very interesting to study. And also Cloudflare, and this is the last part. If we are to look at what those protections are used, or the lack of DDoS protection, says that there were no attacks when the victims of typical when the DDoS attacks the news websites rather than banks, but that's just my assumption, and this is an interesting case to study as well. And if we are to look at from what nodes the attacks are coming to Uzbekistan, so if it was the attacks were made in the country, it could be easier to explain. No, here we only have Uzbekistan. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me, you cannot see it, but let me enlarge it for you to see it better, or move it somehow. In reality, the two big lines, it's Russia and the United States, 50-50. And in small... Okay, let's use the elements of interface, but at least we can see what we need. These are the dangerous traffic and one-to-one, but when we talk about the nodes to Uzbekistan and where the bad traffic was sent, the leader is the resources of the United States. So Uzbekistan was involved in attacks, and a little bit of the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and etc. With this, I would like to finalize my presentation, and I believe that we will not be concentrating on the questions and answers, and I would probably do them, move them to a break, which will be happening after the panel session. But right now, let us talk during the panel session with the content network as a way of optimizing and the interaction with the outer world. So we have 3 participants, and one of them is the Kazakh company Колесо, or Wheels, sorry. I'm very sorry. And they prepared the presentation. It will be So this will be a little crystal to crystallize the further discussions that we will have. So Vahan, whatever you wanted to do, you can before the speaker reaches the microphone. Here it's better. So Wheels, please, we will ask you to come here, but before that I would like to make a very interesting and important announcement. After this session we will have a tea and coffee break right here, but the most importantly, at 8 o'clock we have a very wonderful dinner at a beautiful restaurant called Hanchapan, and the buses will be departing from here at 7:30 p.m. Please make sure that you're there, and now we will pass the floor to the Kazakh company, the Wheels, with their presentation. Before that, I would just like to make a note of the fact that we have microphones in the auditorium. If you want to ask a question, you can ask for the microphone and ask your question. So you can come and get another. And also there will be a discussion. Those won't be just pre-prepared materials or statements, so you are highly encouraged to take part in engage in these discussions. So you'll be more active and give us feedback. If you have something to say, we'll be very happy. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Alexandra Chulin. I am the network engineer from the Wheels, and I just wanted to show you about the CDN in Uzbekistan, about our experience. On the base of one of our products, we will talk about the product called afterlearn.uz. For those who don't know, it's a classified ads about the sales and of the vehicles, and we can see it from the website and the mobile app. Why afterlearn and why CDN? The product is quite big, and the content delivery, in order to deliver our photos to the users. Who knows what CDN is? Please raise your hands. Great, many people know. For those who don't know, CDN is the content delivery network, and in most of the cases, is some servers and that are located in different places. And as you can see from the slide, you can see the companies that are providing CDN in the world, and they're the largest ones. And as far as these companies are concerned, we're not talking about just one server. We're talking about serious huge storages and centers that are located around the world. And you may not even have suspected that you have used the products of these companies. For example, if we talk about Akamai, they delivers services of CDN to Facebook, photos, videos that are delivered to Facebook. The update of Windows is also CDN's function. Akamai's, and Google also building the CDNs as they go. If you are watching a video on YouTube, it means that you have just used the products of such type, and they serve to fasten the speed of the download, and the video only downloads so quickly because the servers are available at providers Azure, Google Cloud. These are all CDNs that provide platforms for various websites, and so whatever application you open, you will be using CDN called Cloudflare and the DOS protection. So if you're talking about the physically how it looks, it's shown on the picture. Yeah, I'm very proud of this stand. Let us show you how it actually works. Here we can show this is how the user's requests come to front end without CDN, and they come directly to resource, doesn't go through caches, and if the 5 users have asked for the same content, the content will be delivered to each of these users separately, and it gives the download of channels and the resource download. It's not regulated. So, but when we use CDN, first request goes to resource, then the content is cached at CDN, and then sits there before other users ask for it. And this is when the interesting part starts happening. This is when the content starts being given not by the resource but by the CDN. And if the user is using the website, all of a sudden everything is being downloaded easily. And also it provides an opportunity for the resource to regulate the user's traffic. And it can be also inbuilt in the application. So these are the main benefits of the CDN, because it speeds up and optimizes the content delivery, and we have what to be delivered and optimized. So these are the monthly statistics. So we give out 4 terabytes of traffic per month, and 218 million of requests from users, and 1.3 million. It's a very popular product, and let us see how it is structured and how we manage this big load. It is quite easy. So if we look at the diagram, there are only 3 components. The front end, this is where the request comes from the users. Then we have MC router, which distributes the load, and between the caches. And the requests themselves just take a very simple example. For example, the user posted an ad and the photos start to download. Then everything is transferred to MC router, and then it is looked at in local cache, and everything is beautifully downloaded in the application. But in case if there are no photos at CDN, for example, for the first time they have asked some add photo, then the MC router will transfer the traffic to our 2 nodes in Kazakhstan in different data centers. And this is where they will be looking at caches and finding if there is a photo of needed photo there, and if so, they will put it in their cache and delivering it beautifully. And even if they don't find any photo, perhaps a user opened some very old ad and the ad photos were replaced by more fresh photos. In this case, the server will be using special microservice. It will go into an object archive and or storage and try to find if we have a very valuable user resource. So this is how it works. And now I would like to continue from the point when it stops working. And it stops working when we start having problem with the external channel. And for example, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, throughout the whole years of operation, we see delays, jittering, and also there were cases when the channel was just disappearing and the traffic would be disappearing and then would be coming through a satellite traffic. So yeah, I even had something like that. But we do not really rely on this channel for speed because we don't have enough resources in the data center, which is a different problem which I would like to address because the cost of data center is very high. I think for Uzbekistan and even for Kazakhstan as well. And we're only saying it because we have had the experience of interacting with different providers, and so the channel is more expensive than the hosting itself, and this is something that happens. And all because some startups couldn't come on to market on time or couldn't provide their businesses, but services. But there will be more interesting slides. It's because it's not it. In 2019, we had a problem of users complaining that the application isn't working properly, the photos aren't being downloaded, so we had to write the whole general separate product. And so this map is being produced. It's called the application called Pingater, and it shows the delay from the user's device to us. And this is where you see the blue spots. It's more or less okay. Well, not really okay, but not great. But and the red shows the 4,000 milliseconds or 8. So this is and the slide really complements Alex's slide on the coverage by mobile operators. And here we see that most of it is in Tashkent, and beyond Tashkent is just not very well. So these are the main problems when we did the CDN. And I will be now telling you about how to do it better, and nothing is stagnating. Everything is being developed and growing, and we keep working. And we thought that we could use a CDN not only for the delivery provision but also for its download, and the users will upload the photos of various formats from various devices, different we have to standardize them, bring them to the same format and unified format, and for that we need resources. It's all about the processing, and we need to expand therefore, and if we are able to expand, it means we will need more equipment and pay for additional hosting. And while we were doing this, and while we were thinking about how to write this soft, we found the research about what can be done, and we found out that Uzbekistan has now CDNs, and they're providers of commercial CDNs, and we're talking about Cloudflare. If you look up, you'll find two more providers. But there are more about aesthetic content or video content or game industry. It didn't work for us, so that's why we started using the Cloudflare. And from all of this, I could only point out the low cost in comparison with others. Yes, Cloudflare has a very great price policy, and sometimes they even can provide it for free. And we have tried to see the compatibility and the integration with our products, and made the decision to start using them. And now you can see how well it works. So this is, we give 4.1 terabytes to Uzbekistan, and 218 million requests per month are being serviced. And besides that, the Cloudflare, as I said, will give very good price. So these are the distribution among the countries, and these are all CDNs that are located in Uzbekistan. So we see 4 terabytes in Uzbekistan, and we see 1.5 terabytes that was given to Russia. Yes, we understand that a lot of citizens of Uzbekistan are working in Russia, and this is where they're using our application. They're working, looking up the cars, sending it to their relatives. And later we see a very non-typical situation. For example, Germany, France, Netherlands, United States, Poland. We researched that. We found out that VPN traffic. We realized that users in Uzbekistan are using proxies, and it's not separating the traffic. And so after they launch our application, it's also gone to VPN. So this is something to think about, especially for the Internet Protection Society. What is the penetration of VPN? I will not be holding you for too long. There will be some conclusions later about how to build CDN. We made our conclusions. It is possible to build CDN in Uzbekistan, but it's very expensive. It's due to hosting, through channels, very expensive. and sometimes the result can be unexpected. It will be thought that we will be giving it out to different, but it's not Uzbekistan, and the users come from other countries, especially using the situation with external challenge. The research I told you about, there are quite many research, and then of course the research is needed to be taking place at beforehand, and within the in the process is also some research needs to be applied. For example, with Cloudflare, we have been doing some research as well, and we need very good qualified personnel for the development. Because we wrote our solutions ourselves with a good team, and as far as the operation and maintenance, we need network engineers, administrators, all of that. If not, then better to find good commercial solutions like Cloudflare, and with Cloudflare it is the inexpensive services, and it's scaled very well, and the CDN will be serviced by other company, and this is where you become dependent as well, and the requirements may not always match your requirements. So I've said it all. So if you have any questions, please ask. Thank you. I have a question to Yelena. In VK, probably there are some secrets. So first of all, are there secrets in Uzbekistan? And are there anything you can be sharing with us? Thank you. The company VK, it is the Russian company. Our main services Mail.ru and Postpochta, ВКонтакте and Одноклассников. As far as CDN are concerned, we have CDN, not in Uzbekistan. We had them in the last year. They were not very big, so when the resources were blocked, we turned off CDNs and never returned them. So as far as CDNs are concerned, there was this previous presentation was just absolutely brilliant, very detailed information. As CDNs are concerned for our projects, these are social media and email. It's ongoing dynamics. The caching could be only for videos and photos. And as far as Uzbekistan is concerned, in a hotel today, I tested the availability of our resources, tried to download the movie, downloaded it, worked without interruption, but the feeling was that everything is good here in terms of internet, but if to base our conclusions on the previous presentations, we can come to conclusions that situation could the problem could be within the country. So for the users to watch our movies and videos and without any interruptions, the coverage must be very in-depth, and in order for the users to because we cache popular videos, so we need well, the users will be easier for them to find access to popular movies and films and their own videos. And if we locate them in Tashkent, then there will be not much user effectiveness. It will be downloading not 2 seconds but half a second. But to me, that the users will see the difference. When they open the page, they download the movie, and they're only worried about not the movie not to be interrupted. As far as the allocation of CDNs, we talked about it quite a bit with Uzbek Telecom. As far as CDNs are concerned, with all the network operators, we are ready to provide our program or software, and from this cache the content will be distributed to the users. So what is the benefit for the provider or the operators? Because they if the channel is narrow from Uzbekistan to Russia, then it could be it could be quite noticeable, and cache will reduce the volume by 50% almost, and the external channel download will be reduced by twice for the operators. And I think it's a great proposal, and for the users to also receive a better and a faster content. But we have not yet been able to agree on anything, and that's why we don't yet have caches in Uzbekistan. We have almost the same problem. We were trying to agree with Uzbek Telecom, and we provided all of our equipment and all the service. We bring everything and install everything, but we were not able to. But the position of the network operators is quite strange, because we help them to unload the external channels. There was a popular decision in 2009. Operators used to install caching the services, but in this case we not only have to do it, but pay for the whole thing as well. And so these, but people will not be using it much, but actually their benefit in unloading is quite big, 1 terabyte almost, which is quite a huge volume. And as far as Russia is concerned, there are agreements with operators, and many operators have our caches, and this is from where the users of this network are using it. So we have our servers, our equipment, and these are the full-fledged points of network. Let me change the role now of being a host, and for me it was a very useful experience in Yandex. 2 years. I worked for 2 years in Yandex. We had ongoing research that showed that the reduction from the initial page, and the worsening of download, which means led to the loss of audience, the viewers. And of course the question is open, and yes, who cares about what rate is downloading? But if you are living in the situation of high competition, then of course you start counting your milliseconds. And again, from the network operator point of view, I have been talking to Russian operators, and I was working for one of them. Right now, in case the Google Google takes out their segment, then the Russian connectivity will turn into a pumpkin, really, because the economy of external channels and the external channels are not ready. Because when we're talking about the savings, the average person takes it as 2 matches saved, but no, in reality it's a huge saving, but this kind of savings can change the situation radically, and that's why it's very important to hear the view of the operators, because we have Akmal here with us today, and we were wondering what he thinks about allocating CDNs on their networks, and perhaps you're already working with content providers, regional or local or foreign. I probably will be better off standing up. Many interesting questions were raised. I have the memory stick with my presentation on it. How can I launch it? I thought that it would be more interesting if I showed it. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of NCC and Infocom for hosting this very wonderful this panel discussion. Sometimes I would sit around thinking of who to assign to do the research analysis. My name is Akmal Alif Janif. I am responsible to Uzbek Telecom for the innovation development on technologies and the company. And today's presentation showed it, highlighted some issues that was quite interesting for me as well, and I would like to thank everyone who presented, and I hope I was unable to take photos of all the presentations, but I hope that I will be able to get them later, and there were very good and interesting statistics that addressed. And our IT specialists raising very important issues. So as far as our servers, CDN servers are concerned, yes, we have them, and we, as the speaker mentioned before, that CDN servers are very expensive, and as a person the priorities, and they look at the status of users and operators, and Uzbek Telecom is a national operator. The infrastructure is quite big. I will show you the presentation about Uzbek Telecom, and there are some priority tasks and midterm tasks, and we do CDN servers. We have the experience, but the investments or the return on the investment, they should be aligned with, and that's why I do understand the concern of our neighboring partners. So there is a demand which I was very surprised with. So when we were doing the investment project, we were thinking of whether we will have a client, and because we needed to have more, and if you give me your business cards, and maybe I can get back to you on some issues that you raised, because we've not met before. But if you say that we met before and something didn't work out, perhaps we can we can resolve some issues. But the most important thing is when the client is ready. So now I will say a few words, and then we will continue. We have 8 specialized branches. We have training courses, retraining courses, 14 regional branches in Tashkent, and in each regional we have our own branch. 283 sales offices, and some problems that were already highlighted. This is where the points where people go. In statistics, you mentioned that the number of employees are going down, so there is a disbalance in statistics. I would just like to say that due to the construction of fiber optic is very expensive, we use private sectors that are going into construction, and since you were using the statistics from the public on the official one, then I just wanted to mention that there is also a private sector that in construction companies are very popular as well, and there are more of them, so you need to take them into account as well. And as far as Uzbek Telecom is concerned, it's 12 million users. So 7 million of them are mobile users, internet, to 50,000 IPTV, telephonic, about 1.8 million, and there is slow gradual reduction. And during the pandemic, we had a big problem when the schools were closed, the children needed to go someplace. This is when we increased the accessibility to address this problem.
And the things which we have demonstrated on slides, and it's also very interesting. We could review it in more details. Our achievements are usually in the international market. we have a data center. We have got this 3 certificate, and the brand owners. We are not competing with the providers, trying to collaborate with them. I think here they can also ask the questions, and the length of our fiber optical line currently is 154,000 kilometers, and I can also reply on the question why we are developing so fast. We are analyzing this too. In Europe, we also had a lot of investment introduced in the cables and so on, and when we are investing until we cover the cost, we are not implementing the new technologies. Therefore, we had some difficulties, and we moved to the optical fiber, and many companies and we have rejected and moved. I was not asking. I was impressed. I was inspired. Sometimes transfer contributes to the fast development of some specific things, and you have also mentioned, right, and the introduction of the broad lines is very important. Usually when the governments they do not compare about 50% of the population, and we are, as a regulator, do not put this as a target. If we have 20 households, we are trying to consider all of them, and we're trying to cover all of them, all villages, and the level of the mobile coverage. It's mobile, it's telecom, which includes 3G, 4G, 5G is being introduced. The intake capacity is 60 gigabytes per second, and this brand is also very development. 3,000 gigabit per second is the intake capacity of the coverage, and now we're planning to have additional resources which can be provided from our resources, from our assets, and that was in a short about Uzbek Telecom. And I think that the questions have been raised. For us, as for the national operator, it's very important, and the priority regarding digitalization of the population is mainly for the population. All the investments are being done into development of the broadband access, so the enterprises have more consumers, and this is very good, and the companies are interested, and I think that we will be able to solve these issues. There is nothing which we cannot solve. I would like to mention that you can participate in discussion. I'm asking the question, but it doesn't mean that you cannot ask your questions. If you have some ideas or some other things to share with us, you're welcome. I was first, that's why I'm holding the mic. I have a question. What is the algorithm? How long you are holding the cash? 100 times you have reviewed the pictures and 101st is done, or you just review it and download it for 1 month? It's being done by the server memory resources, and popular requests are just replacing the old requests. For example, one picture was reviewed by 10 people, it will be in priority, then it will be replaced by the most popular. So then they move to the main archives. Telecom. What kind of technology of building you have selected for connecting your subscribers, clients? We are very interesting territory, but you didn't mention anything about technologies you're using. Uzbek Telecom provides the wireless and mobile network, and it's very rare that operator works only with mobile or so on. First of all, regarding we are moving to XGPON because we are introducing the 5G. We were starting Ethernet to the home ETTX. And we have moved to Japan, and without this the smart home is also impossible. Therefore ETTX is being used. And regarding the mobile networks, we're using all technologies. We have frequencies required, and we do not use WiMAX, and we're using Wi-Fi from 4 to 6 we're moving now. Regarding the access, it's very good. TSP test results have been improved, and this is the result of our work, and we cannot change anything, I think. And we have another question. Yes. When Telecom monopoly will be removed for the autonomous single system Unitel? Are you from Unitel? Are you working in Unitel? No. So in order to, it's for your information, we have, as far as I know, regulator provided opportunities for two operators to enter the international market, but due to the fact that the procurement of the equipment takes time, as far as I know, and they are working on this. They are designing, estimating, and one of the operator is at the phase of testing of the equipment, and when the operator will start its work, we will get this information, and the operator will be able to enter the international networks. Therefore, two mobile operators already have this opportunity. I'm not the operator, I'm business. Therefore, I can say that in Uzbekistan, 2 or 1 bank have autonomous system. In Uzbekistan, more than 20 banks, and they do not have autonomous system. Therefore, QSEC6 is not developed, and there is no development of the internet in the business, as we have difficulties of getting the access to the autonomous system through any operator, and monopoly for the international transit as a Unitel and the sub-operators. I think that it's not developed, it's not related to development of IP6, Uzbek Telecom channels. I think you connecting it wrong. And regarding banks, I have heard what you were talking about, and TBC, you mean, right? TBC. I don't understand how it is related to the external channels. The fact of development of digitalization of the government is not related to this fact. If one of the operator wants to build it, it shall build it, and they have opportunity, they shall do it. The fact that the entrepreneurs are working so I'm as a worker of the sphere. No, I think it's a regulatory issue. Here it is more related the company at the same time I'm not sure if there's requirements or limitations at the regulatory level, but I think it's another entities or institutions shall be involved in this discussion, but it's good that you are raising this issue. It's a good question, but it's not related to us. It's economical issue. We have few time, and after this session we can wrap up it. Microphone, please. Microphone. Good evening. We were talking about the Japan technology and moving to expand. I would like to open this question. I'm interested. Is the Uzbek Telecom using the Japan technology in the multi-store building construction? Residential apartments construction is being used only for new buildings, and when we are constructing, we are introducing the optical lines, and in the old we are using STTH, it's Ethernet. Therefore, there's some differences on the consumption. It's cost, it's better. And Japan we're using in the private sector. TTH limitation are about 100 meters, and therefore it only covers limited number of apartments. So the moving the XDSL technology is being used widely, and the statistical data from the market so if it's 46 here, then it's 46. According to my statistics, it's 60 something. Now here we're talking about the autonomous system, and we have regions where we have 10 providers and one autonomous system. and the others using the other addresses. It's very interesting to know both numbers to compare. And we have another question. And we have a coffee break waiting for us, and we need to refresh. One question and then we will go for refreshment. The microphone is not working again. So please use microphone so the translators can hear you. I fixed it. Timur Kalosa Company, we have a question that we have faced the problem when we were visiting the data center where we want to allocate our offices in Ustilicom, and we have been told that we cannot visit this center even for installing equipment and so on. Yes, you still cannot reach this data center because it was built not in the period when it was in demand. It was closed object, and as you can see we are introducing the machine set, and this data center can be used by you in the nearest future. But the initial configuration of data center was not allowing to introduce the others to it, and we will have some security requirements. I think that everybody is agree with this, and those requirements cannot be violated. And regarding the commercial access, we are working on it. We have number of requests, and we are trying to provide and distribute it by containers. We are working on it. So you are building the new data center, yeah. And what is the deadline, expected deadline, when we can, commercial organizations can visit you? So this year we will provide the tickets due to the pandemic year and the equipment delivery delays. It was the global problem. We have some delays, so it will be like end of this year and next year, first half of the next year. But you shall announce your resources, expected resources, so we shall organize and plan our capacity, because I'm also very interested in what to expect, what will be the next, and there is huge development place, inshallah. And I think that the key moment is the cost of internet provided by this center, because the consumption is being taken by channel. It's very expensive. Yes, I forgot to tell you that our speaker and we have telehouse. The opportunities to install the servers and to give the platform. So the small enterprises are installing the service in their shops and offices. It also led to the problems. It's better to organize them in another place with your resources, with your help. You are for us the sailors, not retail. Now we are focusing on retail. We are working, and then we can work on distributing, and there is no need to establish the servers, no need to consume so much energy. The green concepts are also being taken into account, so the more energy we use for digitalization, the less effective it is. So we are trying to comply with this green strategy and decrease the energy consumption. That's a conceptual approach. This is more related to the cost reduction for the channels. If it is cheap, fast and sustainable, any company will be developed. Currently it is impossible. When you're talking about internet, you mean external connection? Yes, a channel with the external world. Within the channel there is no problems for small enterprises. Regarding the external internet, there are some factors depending not only on the republic. If somebody gives the internet, we have some problems. So the question is, where are you taking from these resources? Uzbekistan is not an enclave of or hub of this internet. We are a double locked country and we have this problem of logistical manner, and therefore to concentrate the traffic in Uzbekistan in the central region is very essential, and the development of the 5G also will not require some inquiries. But when we are talking about digitalization, machine to machine, with the source servers located abroad, it will lead to the consequences. Therefore, we shall understand why we are doing and the things that are located to the optimization. Therefore, 5G solve these problems in another way. Therefore, we are trying to work in this location. Therefore, in a conceptual segment, we are reviewing all segments and all data servers, internet channels, and the problems of speed will be solved. I have another question. You have data that the external channels will be extended. Yes, I will tell you. I was telling you that in the nearest future, in the next projects, we are planning to extend them up to 4.5, but it doesn't mean that we will be all the resources established together with you, they will be generated. Therefore, some graphics on the information right was very helpful. So thank you very much. Our session is coming to its end. We were not able to have some disputes. It was like information exchange, consolidation, and we saw this history from different prospects, and especially I'm very glad to see that as a result of interaction within our organization, if people exchanging the contacts, it's a good result for us. Therefore, thank you very much for discussion. Our session is now ended, and you are invited for the coffee break. Just wait a second. I have the announcement of the next session and what needs to be done in next session. I do understand from the left side we have the meeting room for business meetings and VIP room where you can sit and discuss your things. We will return here later. We will start at 5 o'clock and we will have Шавкат Забиров, интернет СССР Казахстан на связи встречи, Гал Фернандес, Зарина Абзала, Эстера, Романбек Бекбулатов, Казахтелеком, Акмал Айджанов. We're not saying goodbye, we will be returned at 5 and Khalil Ibrahim from Kyrgyzstan. Please come back at 5.
Please take your seats and let us continue. We can take other people's seats if they're empty. Да. Okay. Thank you to those who didn't return, and thanks to those who did return. And why am I thanking those who didn't return? Because they have an opportunity to still come back, and please call them. We will have an interconnected regions session, and we will have great, unique participants of our panel session. Please let them come on stage. Shavkat Sabirov, Internet Association of Kazakhstan. Massimiliano Stucci, Internet Community, Gail Fernando, Sketchpoint, Zarina Abzalova from Estera, Ronanbek Bekbalatov, Kazakh Telecom, and one of the most important people here in Uzbekistan, Akmal Arifjan, Uz-Telecom. Please take your seats anywhere you would like. Make yourselves comfortable. Thanks to everyone who took their places, and today we do have very outstanding speakers. Some of them have great presentations as well. Yes, and we have another speaker who will tell us about the national peculiarities of internet development. Khalil Ibrahim, where are you? So here he comes.
So he will be talking about community networks. I think that the first presentation will be provided by Shavkat Sabirov. He will be talking about the interesting initiative which is being done by us because we were members of advisory group. We have conducted this initiative in Kazakhstan together with Shavkat. I will not be discovering details. He will provide them. Shavkat, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. For any business, so it always depends on the request, the potential of the market, especially regarding the business, the private sector. Therefore, we have communicated with UNESCO last year because the report prepared by us was prepared by any report and nobody would believe this. And then we talked to UNESCO, and according to the UNESCO,
universal indicators of internet development, and we agreed that this year we will do an official research, and Kazakhstan and all the members of Kazakhstan market will provide all the data and all the figures on the measurement of internet. So why do I say about the data is because in this report there are 109 indicators, 21 contextual, and we took the period up to 2022 because 2022 January has changed this life of Kazakhstan and changed the February changed the life of the whole world. So all the focuses have changed, and so that's why we only relied on the research results up to 2022. What is most important is the data. When we talk about 56%, they say, why 56, not 58? So we need to have verified source of information, or it should be a state official statistics, or some publications of ministers, or some public body, or some data received from the international organizations, for example, IDC, International Data Corporation, which has been in the Kazakhstan ever since its independence for 30 years.
The number of servers, the security service, and so on. Those studies are being conducted based on the principles of double control in order to avoid any errors, because we do understand that the output documents will be provided for use for many people. Therefore, the contextual indicators, those are simple economical, demographical development indicators. In general, it's like the regular world indicators, and the key indicators consist of 5 categories. It's human rights, mass media, abusing cases, criminal cases. It's more about the protecting the human rights. The second category is openness and accessibility, availability, affordability of the access to the internet, and the number of subscribers to the broadband internet, the share in the market, and who are the segments, the number of indicators related to the stakeholders, multi-stakeholders related to the participation, and the cross indicators, those which are crossing in several sectors. I have selected number of indicators, and as you can see, this is for 22 LDCD, Kazakh Telecom, Beeline 15, and other 30. And Kazakh Telecom is a monopolist, owns 95% of the main channel connections, and it's in general the main connection of coverage of internet belongs to the Kazakh Telecom. And the small companies, Beeline sell, but the main share belongs to Kazakh Telecom mobile operators. As we can see, Kcell, Itel, Tele2, and Beeline. Itel, Kcell, Tele2 belongs to Kazakh Telecom. So Kazakh Telecom in the mobile market is a monopolist with the share of 68%. When it's a common thing for the many countries of the Central Asian countries, when we need to demonopolize some functions, and we can't do this because the only traffic exchange services provided by the government, and since 2017 it belongs to the National Security Committee, and the only point of the traffic exchange belongs to the government again. And now we are trying to change the situation, and on the basis of Kazakh National Information Company to provide the basis for the private sector, give the share to the private sector, and if they remain partly related to the threats and the risks of terrorism and the cyber criminal cases can stay with the government. And we are talking about that we need to move to IPv6. We have been discussing this for about 6 years, and Nikita Krasulin and Kalyos group suggested to review how many subscribers are available in IPv6, and we did this night time, and it was less than 10% of traffic for IPv6 today. In general, IPv4 address is provided for 6.5 devices. So Kazakhstan, with the huge number of devices, planchets, new notebooks, have the deficit in IP addresses, and we took the data for the RIPE, and the main source of import was Romania and Russia, but Alexei Semenyaka have demonstrated us that for this year the Swiss became the second importer of IPv4. So in general, we are our national operator starting collecting all IP pools and addresses remained in order to use it. So instead of using the priority to ensure up to 30%, for example, for IPv6, up to 2030 50%, and by 2050 50%. In this case, of course, we would be able to win, because digitalization of Kazakhstan has reached the very good results. And for example, during the current and during the pandemic year, when we were sitting home, it was lockdown, and it was ideal situation when all users were sitting home and using for communication only internet, and then you are able to calculate the market intake, market coverage, and we have calculated the media demand for the new channels for 90 million of children, only 12-30 million internet users. For the last month, we were able to achieve about 75 million of transfers to the news channel. So it means that each citizen of Kazakhstan is using internet constantly. The volume is huge. It's only regarding the reading the news. It's a 75 million. Here we can see the picture provided by the Kazakh Telecom development manager. We can see the existing fiber optical lines connected since 2000 years, and the super main channel suggested till the Caspian Sea, which was done together with Turkmenistan in 2000. 17, but it was useless. Kyrgyzstan, mainly despite the fact that they have a channel of direct stream from China through the mountains, they don't use it. But 95% of traffic they are receiving from Kazakhstan. It's clear that it's a transit, but still the main supplier of communication is Kazakhstan. Last year, when Kazakh Telecom tried to increase the cost for traffic for the operators in Kyrgyzstan, it was a huge meetings, strikes, and so finally this price increase affects the consumer in Kyrgyzstan, in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. For example, today when we talk about the Caspian digital hub, we can see the continental structure, and the red line is the Caspian digital hub. When the south east Asia through the Kazakhstan, through Aktau city, 380 kilometers underwater cable. Baku, Azerbaijan, in 2020, Azerbaijan built the direct gas pipeline to Italy, and together with the gas pipeline they put on the cable. So from Baku we have a direct channel to Italy and to Sofia, but you can see the difference. North Sea way doesn't help us, or use it underwater, and the red lie out through the Caspian to Italy. This hub can be widely used for connecting the Europe and the Southeast Asia, and the capacity is huge enough. And the thing is that we are discussing this since 2018, and we have established this special consortium together with the mobile operators and the two private companies, Kaztranscom and Transtelecom, help in this, and British companies should we're planning to build two data centers in Aktau, because we need two data centers to support this. Unfortunately, everything has messed, and we are expecting that for 150 years it was constructed underground, and we don't know how it will change, and we can see that picture is changing. And here we can see clearly how the digital Caspian hub is going through Turkey through Europe and to Italy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shafkat. Yeah, here a lot of things have been mentioned about the role of Kazakh Telecom, about the development of the region and the mobile connection and digital technology.
And unfortunately, we have representative from Kazakh Telecom who can share their vision, the vision of their company, and how this, in their view, the region will be developing. And taking into account the slides that were presented to us by Shafkat, it is impossible to move on without Kazakh Telecom and to discuss the development of the region without them. There will be no presentation. In this case, Roman Bek will just take the microphone and share the view and the vision of Kazakh Telecom. Perhaps you could share or elaborate more about transit traffic, the ways of developing the region in general. Thank you very much. Greetings to all. My name is Rolanbek Bekbulatov. I am the head manager for the information technological development in Kazakh Telecom. And you saw in Shavkat's presentation that Kazakh Telecom is the major provider, and in Central Asia perhaps as well.
What I can say that the topic was about the interconnectivity in the Central Asia. And of course, for development of the internet, we need to develop the interstate interconnectivity for the traffic exchange, and this helps for the fault cases and the error, for avoiding the error. And Shavkat said that IPv6 Kazakh Telecom was procuring, but from the business prospect, IPv6 was not established by Kazakh Telecom. It's still being developed and requires a lot of investment as for the other operators too. And it's clear that IPv6 currently have the status that main subscribers are using IPv4. All content mainly is supported by IPv4. And we do understand that investment in this regard for the nearest future will not be covered. It will be not feasible. But in the future, we are supporting the idea that the lack of addresses will require moving to the IPv6. And nobody will avoid this in the future. But Kazakh Telecom has the problem on the broadband equipment, internet connectivity and equipment for this broadband access till the client terminal. And in this case we need to invest, replace the old equipment, install the equipment which can support this protocol. But in a business segment we are providing the services for IPv6. We have conducted tests. Banks are getting the services for IPv6, and also I want to tell you that operators of the mobile communication, the main subscriber, the end users are retail clients, and they are providing IPv6. But we do understand that the whole of the mobile operators with the pink of Kazakh Telecom at this level, IPv6 is available at this level. Okay, I have a question. IPv6. Let's imagine that everything will be very good in 4 years. We will have a flourishing gardens. Okay, but we still have people who do working with IPv6 within the Arab NCC, and I think they are not agree that IPv6 will be in 4 years. Maybe it will be earlier. because there's a serious issues of introduction of IPv6 within the supporting of the billing XP and the further development of the telecom components of Kazakhstan and the Central Asia itself. But before this, I would like to ask Max to comment and to give his opinion. Before this, I would like to ask your opinion. PVC, okay, it's clear. Shafkat has showed opportunity to improve the connectivity through the Caspian hub, but do you consider opportunity of connectivity through your colleagues with Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and other countries using the real already existing main routes for ensuring, for satisfying internal needs and the other countries' needs? Yeah, it's very well known. Shafkat also has mentioned we had number of events, political events, which just changed the plans and the vision of many of us, and Kazakh Telecom is also considering opportunity of alternative ways. And as you know, the upstream operators for us is the Russia, and we have a risks, of course, that we will be cut from the world, and we are working out the organization of alternative ways. Would it be Uzbekistan or other country? We don't know. We are considering all alternatives. We need evaluate them, assess them, and find the right solution. What I can say that also we have the risks for POP nodes organization at the world data centers basis, and if Uzbekistan is interested in collaboration in this regard and take the channels for these POP nodes, we also can consider this opportunity. May I make a short break? Yes, as November 16, 17 in Almaty, we are planning to have a Central Asian Peeling Interconnection Forum in Almaty. Please visit us, and we will be reviewing and considering all those aspects together with Kazakh Telecom, Muz Telecom. So sorry, you can continue. Thank you. Okay, if you're done, then Roland Beck. Do you have questions to Shafkat, to Roland Beck? If you have questions, please, we will have the session of questions and answers in the end of our session. And now I would like to give a floor to our foreign experts. Max, maybe you will start. countries of the Central Asia from our service region. People, if you have some ideas to establish the root service in IPv6 and you don't know anything, something for example, you don't need an equipment, you need advice, we are ready. Colleagues from ISO, ICANN and other partner organizations are ready to support you. Very often we are facing the situation when the local operators, people just don't want to request that help. They're saying like they have some fears, I don't know. The first step, ask us, request that support. If NCC doesn't have this opportunity, 99% that other partner organizations will have this opportunity to help you with any issue you have. And regarding the capacity building, IPv6 and root service, IXP, all issues, IGF, I don't know, anything you which are related to the internet development, they can be sent to us and we will help you. 99.9%, I guarantee. Therefore, I have a question. As we are in Uzbekistan, when we'll be in Kazakhstan, I'll be asking the same question. In Uzbekistan, dear friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Uztelecom, dear other operators, what do you need? How we can help you? What are your plans? Please let us know. Good question. I think you have mentioned the right thing. We have the providers here. If the providers mention, I will continue. Maybe providers would like to say something. Do we have providers or people would like to say something? Okay. We have translation, therefore use microphone. Good evening, Aziz Ahundranov, BCC Group, Internet Service Provider. The reality is that all we need is cooperation, collaboration to work together. And the CRAMP, of course, that's very difficult to say right now. We need to strengthen regarding the rights support. And we hope that this event will provide the right impetus for development of the further activities. Akmal, it's like a personal relationship. Everything is difficult, complicated. Okay, in order to avoid the comments that everything was stated by Uztelecom, we have the 6 other providers, so I will give the floor to them. Of course, IPv6 is an important thing, and we have some problems and difficulties with the client basis of IPv4, and satisfaction of our clients, of course, affects the development. Therefore, IPv6 is our future. We are working toward this, and regarding the schedule which we have demonstrated regarding the neighbors in Uzbekistan, we can see that Uzbekistan is the best, is leading, and we can see that in Uzbek Telecom, the recent 5-6 years when we became more active with the equipment, Uzbek Telecom is not buying the equipment which is not supporting IP6, and the readiness for equipment is there. We cannot procure equipment of other level as operators. Unfortunately, providers still have some issues need to be solved, and in this regard, as Uzbek Telecom, we can start this process, but we do understand that replacement of equipment is very costly, and by ignoring this and doing ourselves is impossible. Therefore, it's a joint, slow process needs to be integrated, and Uzbek Telecom is conducting the trials and tests, and we have still some issues on the security matters and developments. And IPv6 will provide opportunity as improving the capacity, and if RIPE is ready to support in order to get this assistance in this transformation phase, all existing operators in Uzbekistan shall start this in parallel. Therefore, yeah, come on, we are smoothly moving to IPv6. I would like to remind you that tomorrow we will have a separate panel for IPv6 problems and opportunities, and we have others from Irkutsk, Baikal, and there we have presented IPv6, and just they decided immediately and installed IPv6 equipment, start promoting it. We will be talking about their success stories tomorrow, what kind of obstacles and problems they have faced, and Max will be there and we'll ask him. But would you like to say something good right now?
$30 on the market, while an IPv4 address is about $45 to $55. So I would go for the cheaper option of replacing the hardware rather than buying new IP addresses, and where you can get the new hardware and sell your IP addresses to compensate for the expenses. So you can have different choices there.
Я не говорил, да, сейчас, я не говорил, наверное, вам, что у нас Макс, это из Швейцарии товарищ, с итальянскими, по-моему, корнями, они хитрые, они прям такие рассчитывают все, что выгодно, что нет, правильно, Макс? И если он говорит, что это выгодно, ну, значит выгодно.
We love our numbers.
Yeah. Это все о любви. Да.
Просто небольшое дополнение. У абонентов уже есть оборудование.
But equipment for IPv6 need to be procured. This is cost. And I would like to supplement and say that Max said that the cost comes from the procuring the IPv addresses mainly, right? Due to the lack in the market, deficit in the market, yes. Let's agree that IPv4 there's no problems, but the solution for this is translation of the addresses. But yes, I agree. It's not the ideal solution, but so far we are able to find the compromise. It's cheaper than buying IPv4 or IPv6. And if we say that the mobile operators in Kazakhstan 150,000 users might be sitting behind one NATO. Recently we have conducted the workshop for the law enforcement bodies. Isn't the problem 100,000 users behind this NATO? But if we talk about the traffic, it's mobile devices, not plus email. So far it will help, but we need to solve the solid solution. But in order to, all solutions I think need to be based on the analysis of data, right? something what are you analyzing? What is the results? The better our input data, the higher the quality of output data. But how to conduct the data analysis? How to monitor of our infrastructure? How to build the monitoring infrastructure? What, who, where, and with whom? This can be presented by not Fernandez but Hernandez. Gail Hernandez. Please.
Инфраструктуру.
Thank you, Vahan, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be speaking in English, so please. I've got a few slides. Do I need to press anything? All is good. There it goes. So I'm going to take you through what it takes for a company like Catchpoint to build monitoring infrastructure. I'm going to give a little overview of what we have here in the region, and I'm going to try to be as quick as possible, but I'm not going to speak quick so that translators have an easy job, hopefully. Let me see. Next. Here. The other side. The other side, yeah. What we do, node deployment strategy, BGP route collector infrastructure, and some final considerations. There's no marketing slides except two. This is one of them. This is what we do: empower teams to own the digital experience of the users by providing visibility and insight into the complex digital ecosystem. In other words, we give tools so that every team can monitor and observe things that can happen before they reach customers, or they have a problem with customers. So trying to anticipate. The way it works, Catchpoint has a platform where you can schedule measurements. Basically, most of the times is to monitor the performance of their suppliers. And you need to think of our nodes need to be connected to, so business to consumer ISPs. So our clients, which are e-commerce, social networks, and online banking customers, they need to monitor how their users access the platform. So by having nodes distributed all over the world, they can see that. They can see how their website behaves in Kazakhstan, or how it behaves in Italy or in Canada, right? So, and it also needs nodes to do business to business ISPs. So corporate customers need to check how they interact with their own suppliers for headquarter needs like Salesforce, SAP, Office 365. So you need to know, whenever one of the employees has a problem, is the problem with the connectivity? Is it with Microsoft 365, in between, etc. So we provide that sort of insight. You can see on the bottom, there's a few different types of tests, very typical ones: HTTP, traceroute, DNS, ping, etc., etc. There's a bit more sophisticated stuff, and you can see proactive monitoring, different types of nodes. It really depends where we are connected. So a node is connected to a service provider, and that's where the measurement takes place. So this is the second marketing stuff. It gives an idea of our scope. We're globally distributed. We have nodes all over the world because that's what our customers need. They need to be able to measure from different vantage points. You can see 88 countries, 270 cities, and this is basically every week we keep adding nodes and BGP peers. We're expanding the number of locations into new cities, new countries, the types of nodes. So we're adding more IPv6 nodes. That sounds familiar here. So for instance, if we wanted to add IPv6 nodes here in Uzbekistan, we wouldn't be able to. So that's a problem. That's a problem because our customers will say, okay, well, we want to schedule a test with an IPv6 node in Uzbek Telecom? We can. So that is, I can show you, how all these things tie together for, companies like Catchpoint, for instance. We want to add more wireless nodes, and we are building our route collector infrastructure. So I'm going to touch a little bit on that later. What do we have in Central Asia? We have 14 synthetic nodes. Most of the times, the amount of nodes we have is basically directly correlated with the managed service providers we can use, and they have very limited offerings. So this is what we have. In most of the countries around the region, we have at least one node, sometimes two, if there's two important cities, and in some countries there's nothing. So there is room to improve and to expand. This is a call also for hosting providers, ISPs. If you're interested in hosting probes, please talk to me. I've got plenty of very new business cards. I'm not going to go into detail because you probably can get these, or you can get it from me directly. But this is one of the key things of this slide, is that we don't want to do multi-home, so that we are connected to just one particular ISP, so that the customer, our customer, can say, okay, I want to do the measurement from this particular service provider, and that gives a real view of that from that particular network. That's also one of the requirements. What we're doing in terms of strategy, we're reviewing our distribution of tier 1 ISPs, so we make sure that we're in all the tier 1s. There's about 14, 15, important to be in all of them. Tier 2 and tier 3 ISPs, we're incorporating with what our customers are asking. So some customers have, we would like to have probes in these. So we tend to go out and try to install nodes into these. We're also trying to identify easy wins. It's never easy win, because it's normally it's countries where it is more difficult to find partners to deploy nodes, but still we have a list of countries we're trying to work, and there is a little bit of focus on emerging economies for the rest of this year and next year. When we talk about route collector infrastructure, there's a BGP monitoring product that helps customers assess the routing health of their network. So it gives another layer. They can put their prefixes, and they can see, for instance, changes in terms of a path change. Generally prefixes and path tends to be relatively stable. So network operators generally want to know if there's been a change. That means that might be that something upstream is happening, and we want to know that. And we want to know that before it creates an issue, or there's some sort of problem for our customers. We can also detect and alert real-time on hijacks. Now, we rely on 3 sources for this, and you might know these. Route Views is a long-standing project. Ripe Read Service, you hear more of this tomorrow. It's a brilliant project that's been running for years. We are also deploying our own set of route collectors, so that we can get data on real time. We get data from these 2 public sources, but there is a little delay. So when it comes into providing real time data, we have a bit of a shortcoming. So that's why we're building our own route collector infrastructure. This is how things look at the moment. The idea is to keep increasing our route collectors. So for the network operators sitting here, your feed is important to us. It helps us increase our visibility within your customers, your peers, and your upstreams. That's why we consume full BGP feeds from network operators. It is easy and simple. We don't use any of the capacity. We don't send you traffic. We just have a BGP session where we listen, all the routes you announce, and that helps us into our analysis. That turns into data we can show to our customers. there is several options to provide us with that feed, and I'll go into these 3 options. There is an internal tool that engineering has provided, which is useful because it helps us prioritize in each country, for instance, which ASNs are important. So as you can see here, Uzbek Telecom, it's pretty important and ranks very high. That means that obtaining the feed from them will help us to create much more visibility into announcements, withdrawals of prefixes, etc. You can see, for instance, from Valley Free Ranking, which is one of the 2 rankings I have internally, Text Now Pro Assist, 34718 is important, IP Plus is important. That help us increase the visibility. One option, setting up a multi-hub BGP session. We don't need to have direct connectivity. We have a route collector in Las Vegas, is open for anything. We can provide compensation for network operators if you're happy to share your feed with us. Second option, that's a sample Cisco. We're deploying route collectors at internet exchange points. At the moment, we're present in Chile. We're going to be increasing our presence in more exchange points. And the third option, final, is local hosting and the direct BGP session. So, we host the route collector within your network, and then you can share your BGP feed with us. So this is basically what we're doing in terms of building our route collector infrastructure. Final considerations. Monitoring and observability is becoming an essential service. It reduces the mean time to recovery. So once you have a problem, you've got data. Different teams have different pieces of data they can pull together, and you can go into a crisis room and understand, okay, what's happening, where's the problem, how can we solve it. And we've noticed from our customers' requests that BGP monitoring is becoming more important, even for businesses that would not traditionally be interested in what's happened at network level, but they're starting to be interested as well because it gives a bit more visibility. Deploying infrastructure in some regions is challenging. It's either difficult because there's no providers, or very expensive. So that, in another way, that's also difficulty. We're actively looking for partners to expand our nodes. And if you're interested, or you think you can help, or you want to know more, please talk to me after. During the break, or tomorrow I'll be around. Thank you, and thanks everyone.
Спасибо, дорогой товарищ Эрнандес. И у нас сейчас тоже интересная презентация, но о конкретном примере, что мы сделали с одной из стран региона, в хорошем смысле этого слова. Есть у нас пример хорошего сотрудничества хотел сказать, с товарищем, но это красивая леди. Зарина Абзалова расскажет нам, как мы посотрудничали с Таджикистаном, чтобы там установить K-root сервер. Зарина.
Здравствуйте еще раз. Да, очень приятно, что
and providing service to external channels run into problems. I also focus on certain complaints towards the transit providers for Tajikistan. I would just like you to pay more attention to our Tajikistan, because it is a wholesale buyer. Many events are taking place and many situations take place in our region, and some technical malfunctions, when they happen, we also suffer very much from it. And I would like you to know that the infrastructure needs to work on, and in order to ensure the reliable channels through reservation. This request, I really have no idea. Can you turn down the woman, Roland Beck? Well, then we have to think about, we have to think, because it's a problem that we share and we need to address it. And Tajikistan, despite the fact that it's not that big, it's 10 million users based on the population, maybe less, but still, it's quite a big market. I'm from the older generation, and we had the tradition, whether it's good or bad, I don't know, when in face of my friends, I solely swear. So maybe you can make that pledge, in the face of this woman. We mentioned today that in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan there is only one point, a very narrow one, and infrastructure is developing still. But is there a plan for Kazakh Telecom and Uztelecom to create some sort of reserve, or maybe expand the channel, because here there are more people, and as I know, Kazakhstan is a transit point for internet access. So how to prevent our country to be impacted by the transit? No, but we need to make a proper cross line. But perhaps we can think of thinking of a hub. I think that the more points to connect us, the better. So if there are certain requests that come, as far as I know, Kazakh Telecom up to date, together with Uzbek Telecom, we don't have a point of connection. So not only transit, I would say more. Kazakh Telecom is, during the break, Shafkat was telling that Kazakh Telecom is paying a lot of attention to localization of traffic and actively allocating CDN servers on their platforms. But on the other hand, we could become a source of generation, indirectly speaking, of traffic, which will be allocated to network, which will, of course, result in better quality. And I would like to confirm that during the break we spoke about it. It's, of course, because there is no way that we don't expand the channel. Of course, the time dictates its demands, and so think about it. So there are two promises made to Tajikistan and to with Kazakhstan. Okay, just a brief comment. Before 2017, it was okay not to have a connecting point or a bad connecting point, but now two presidents have changed and the January has passed, so we can pardon, what kind of requests do we need? If you look at the managing director for development of innovation until January, what he was doing, e-commerce and all sorts of things, and only after January, I have no idea. He became so much more clever. He started doing transit channels and all sorts of things like that. So now, thank you very much. So you complimented him, is that correct? Yes, sure. So now I'm just saying that there is no, nothing should be stopping you with Uzbek Telecom to do more connecting points, 3 or 4 even. Especially from Kazakhstan, there is a huge number of people coming to Uzbekistan. So you need to be more interested, because our people are coming here to install equipment, to promote things, to do all sorts of things, to pay money. Yeah, we have a question from our participant. We need to wait for a couple of seconds. Good evening. Kazakhstan local operator. I have a question to Zarina. You were telling us about your experience in Tajikistan. Could you please tell us regionally what you do DNS for regional? Is it fully dependent on PTT? So do we need to have a huge operator like Kazakh Telecom, or can we use DNS server for another safe space? Can I answer this question? I can answer this question because it's not really important the monopoly or XP or whoever. What is important is that we don't have those restrictions. For us, it's important is that you need to be compatible or fulfill technical requirements, and that's it. Yes, when I was talking, there are no restrictions. We were actually no limitations. We were even surprised that it all worked out for us. And I wanted to note that in Tajikistan, about different limitations. In fact, it is better in what we did in RIPE and what we did, the DNS is also located at the private provider. We have a regulator and we have they set certain rules and regulations, but what I heard today was actually made me happy, that we can actually locate and there are no real problems. The requirement is for the provider to generate more traffic, but other than that, not much. And maybe we can also, you guys can also address Gail, refer to Gail for questions and set good cooperations and partnerships with them. But for example, villages, there are not many people living there. Maybe not many people somewhere in remote areas, in the mountains. What should we do? It's not profitable or not interesting from the commercial point of view. What should we do then? Maybe we should go to Elon Musk. No, we don't need Elon Musk. He has a double, no, let's not, I think in Kazakhstan since 2005 there is a subsidy program for compensating the lost profit. For example, if Kazakh Telecom sets up in a village of maybe 100 people population, and they bring whatever fiber optic or whatever, or they compensate, because nobody else will be able to do it except for the state. But we have a different problem. In the north of Kazakhstan, people living in the north, they don't use Kazakh providers. The cities and villages are using Russian infrastructure and Russian mobile providers. Not because they're bad or good, but because their prices are twice as low. And these Russian mobile providers are much cheaper. So they buy a SIM card from the Russian provider, and that's why northern regions, northern remote areas are getting educated online. And I think you're going in the wrong direction. Let's pretend that we're not talking about bordering with Russia. Uzbekistan is far. These are not a very cheap internet monopolized or average operator. They don't want to go in the remote area because not much profit is expected. What should we do then? Who will answer that question? Okay, come here. This is why I was waiting for you. So this gentleman will tell us about his success story, and it's also the success story of our partner organization, and their success is our success. Good evening, dear participants. I wanted to first present in English, but I was quite worried. That's why I changed my mind. I am representing Internet Society and Kyrgyzstan chapter. We are resolving these issues that have been raised today. And in Kyrgyzstan is a very mountainous country, and the national agency for statistics that 99% of the country is covered by mobile internet. Even in that case, many remote areas that they don't have internet connection, not only internet but electricity as a whole. And in this regard, the problem becomes bigger. And we have a sub-project called Community Network, and this is where the secret is, because everything, for example, the village of 100 or 500 or 1,000 people, all the village gets together, they get educated, they get support, and then even fund the project sometimes until its successful launch, and we help them. And then engineer conducts all the work, and I will tell you the story of two of our successes. One is the project in Zardali village. It is on the height of 2,500 meters above the sea level. The road itself takes about 3-4 days to get there. So when I left, we were working on it. So our car broke down because it was just so tired of carrying the equipment here and there. The population is of about 300-500 people. During the winter time, people go some bigger city to make it easier to live. So this is how we did it. We used solar panels, and to resolve the issue of electricity, then we set up 6 nodes from where our equipment gets its charge. And this is the distance, as you can see here, and the and also the local community. We had only 2 people, right, the employees, and the local community helped us there. And as our colleagues asked, the provider and operators don't want to go there because it's not feasible economically, and even if they install everything, so what happens if something breaks down? It is very expensive to send people, and there were some scary moments when our employees almost lost lives in a very hardship and dangerous situation. And that's why the community is living in there, because they're used to the terrain, they're used to everything. We wanted to include them in the project and to become owners consequently. And they can set their rules to the internet providers as well. So here you can see the photos of how the community lives there. Just accumulators from cars, the engines. And with these devices, this is how they get the charge for their mobiles. And this is, you can see one of the nodes here. And it's also one of the main road node, and the consumption is up to 2 kilowatts per day. And here we can see who has been helping us from the village. It's all the youth living there, and they were participants in this project, and now they can all maintain and fix the problems. So one of the successful projects was that, and the next project I will tell you about is in 2019. We took the internet through air bridges, and then we used fiber optic. And here's a very interesting story, because the provider was providing very expensive internet, 2G mobile network, and the people don't earn much money, and that's why they cannot afford expensive internet, and that's why we decided to bring fiber optic there. And so for because the provider was helping this local community or any local community, they could have a cashback of a certain amount, 10%. So here new jobs created, and the population they all maintain, and so they received salaries under this program, and that's how they developed their networking. And similar villages and similar remote areas, quite a few in our country. They're very, very remote. And so this would, and also one of the projects, one of the sites was in the very north of our country. It's a very expensive and very complex. And fiber optic, taking it there is so expensive because there are no air bridges, no other ways of reaching there. So this could be interesting. So for those who would be interested in implementing this project with us, we will get together, and we have made a call for the population to participate, and until the end of the year we will implement more similar projects. So after we ensure the connectivity in some villages, the population, since it's something new and they haven't used it before, they don't know how to use it fully. And I would like to show off two more projects, and another we have as the digital citizen, either online or offline. We try to teach the inhabitants of these villages to use internet. And in the first project which I told you about, we saw a few moments when people were calling each other and selling their livestock over WhatsApp. So we were happy that when we see these examples, it's a very great motivation that the social impact takes place. Another you probably recently saw in the news that our country was going through a very difficult period, and now the population of the villages can watch news too, and when the situation reaches a certain point, they were able to participate. And also during the pandemic, the local hospitals and the municipal bodies, they were supposed to work and coordinate their actions during the pandemic, and that's why we were working very hard to maintain the infrastructure. And besides that, we have a different project because for example, inhabitants, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you know, I have a huge desire, because you have many projects and great projects. Let us toast to these projects. Let us drink to them. But this desire can come true at 8 o'clock. Maybe we can drink to each project separately, and the bus will come at 7:30 to all the projects that are taking place in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. But there is also but there is an opportunity as well. The challenge is that we have 76 countries that we service, and can you imagine how much we have to drink to each country? If we keep drinking to each country, 76 countries to drink, can we manage? And on this note, I suggest that we pause and let us continue talking about these projects later, and think about how we can cooperate and community networks. And ISOC, they have such great expertise. They did it in Georgia, in Armenia, in Kyrgyzstan, and perhaps they can do something like that in Uzbekistan. Can you do it? And also I would like to make one note to Mr. Shafkat. Our Kazakh friend came and they wanted us to share our experience because they noticed. No, to friends we will drink separately. No, let us drink separately to friends. Because friends come and go, but the real ones stay. And Max, can you just say yes or no? Just say yes. Thank you. So community networks can be done in Uzbekistan if there is a will, if there is a desire and good intention, because it can be done anywhere in the world, because in service center of internet society is our whole world, so we need to drink to that one too. So on this very good, wonderful note, I would like to thank everyone who participated here today. Let me remind you that the buses will take off at 7:30, and at 7:30 we will be taking you to the restaurant Khan Chapan. It's just a madly beautiful place and very tasty, and you'll enjoy it. Let us all go there. Thank you. And tomorrow we have the registration at 9 and 9:30, and at 9:30 we have our first session on measurements and tools. See you all tomorrow and see you all tonight. Goodbye. Она вот только освободилась.